Anthony, next item.
The next item is item 4, community outreach presentation, alternative vehicles, not alt facts, social media and digital display campaign detailing the facts about buying electronic vehicles. The speaker is Luke Easdale, senior marketing and communications strategist. This item is for discussion.
Thank you. Welcome, outreach team. As you're setting up, I'll just point out a couple of years ago that the Commission started a tradition of beginning our meetings with an outreach commercial, if you will, to highlight the latest outreach campaign, because there are so many outstanding campaigns run by this department. And the last few Commission meetings, we've had packed agendas, so it's really great to have this back on, and welcome.
Thank you. No pressure. So my name is Luke Easdale with the San Francisco Department of the Environment, and I wanted to go ahead and share a little bit of information about a recent campaign that we ran called our Electric Vehicles Campaign. Before I dive into too much detail around the campaign creative, you going to switch that one over? Great. Before I dive into too much information around the campaign creative, I wanted to go ahead and share a little bit of information around the reason why we created this campaign, and also around the goals of this campaign. The overarching North Star goal for this campaign was to drive electric vehicle sales in San Francisco. And one of the challenges around that is that's a very lofty goal. That's more of a North Star goal. That's more of a kind of programmatic goal. So testament to our EV team at SF Environment, Suzanne Lucen and Zach Thompson, for working on this particular campaign to refine that into something that was a little bit more campaign specific, something that was a little bit more achievable from a marketing and communications perspective. Because there's a tremendous amount from EVs when you look to infrastructure and charging stations and such. This is really more around awareness of electric vehicles and driving sales in SF. So one of the things that we work towards is, what is SF Environment doing in this space? When you think about it, we don't manufacture vehicles, we don't design electric vehicles, we don't sell them. So what does SFE do? We're not cutting checks for rebates. We can't offset the cost. So how can we encourage San Franciscans to buy electric vehicles? That was one of the first brainstorming questions that came forward. And Suzanne and Zach came together and thought up, well, we have state rebates, there's federal tax credits, there's local utility rebates, but they're all kind of spread up all over the place. What if we were to bring all of that information together on one page and put it in plain language that people could understand? And that was our first kind of aha moment. That's a space that we could actually do. We could promote the awareness, we could raise awareness of the existence of these particular rebates and incentives. So then the next thing that we did was sit around the table and discuss what research was currently available. What do people already know? Not just demographics, but psychographics. And one of the really, one of the ways that I start most projects is a little infuriating for many, I'm sure, which is the why moment, which is acting like a toddler. But why? But why? Why? And one of those why questions that Suzanne and Zach put up with was, why? Not why do people buy electric vehicles, but why do San Franciscans buy electric vehicles? Luckily, there was data around this. And I would expect from the prime motivators, the gold, silver, and bronze motivators would be something like reduced cost per mile. Right? It's cheaper to drive a mile in an electric vehicle than gas. Second, silver prize might go to HOV lane access, right? It's quicker. You can get from A to B faster. And then C, depending on who you are, it might be safety. Or it could be something like, I never have to go to a gas station again, and that's awesome. So that was my expectation. And I figured environment would come somewhere like 6, maybe 8, depending, our usual participation medal. But not this time. This time, environment is the #1 reason, according to this research, that people buy electric vehicles. I'm going to say that #1. We actually came #1. That's huge. So that kind of helped inspire us all to get really excited about this project. So that we're really talking to people who we're adding a little wind to their sails. We're encouraging them along the pathway. We're not dragging them across the finish line, which is really fun to be a part of. These are actual cars that people want. It's tremendous. And I get it if this was your vehicle, right? This would make sense. Like, you have to put environment over pretty much everything to try and buy this, which, by the way, is the Sinclair C5. It's from the 1985. and it goes up to 15 miles an hour in a range of 25 miles. So we've come a long way. They look awesome. They're stylish. They're fun. People want to buy them. And why do they want to buy them? For the environment. So that was huge. So we had no pressure at that point. You know, we had a great goal. We had a good amount of research to back it up. And we had, preaching to the choir, which was a really great opportunity. So we took a moment to kind of iron out what are our demands, right? Sure, yes, we want to be original. Who doesn't? But what we wanted to do in terms of being original was we're going to have to interrupt people's day. And remember what we're actually trying to promote here. Federal tax credits, incentives, rebates. These are really very financial things. And we weren't going to be able to interrupt people's day and engage with them with a fistful of ones, right? Or a piggy bank. We actually had to come up with something a little bit different and then guide them towards tax credits and incentives and rebates. So we also wanted to be topical. And that was something that we talked about extensively, was how could we possibly find space in this campaign for us to align ourselves with the frustration going on in San Francisco around environmental issues? How could we stand side by side with San Franciscans and say, look, we're with you. Like, we get it. There's the federal government, but there's local government, and we have your back. We wanted to be relevant. We had a small budget, and we weren't going to be able to convince the president of the Humvee Society in San Francisco to go electric. But what we could do was nudge people just a little bit closer towards buying an electric vehicle over a gas when making that consideration. And we wanted to be digital. We wanted people to talk to us. We wanted to engage with them. We wanted them to share this content. And after a little while, and some brainstorming, some staring out of the window, we came up with this, which is our campaign creative: alternative vehicles, not alt facts. And this came in a number of different online and digital display instances. The facts about buying an electric car: there's nothing alternative about them, from tax credits to fuel rebates. Alternative vehicles, the good kind of alt. Expressing our values through the choices we make has never been more important. The next time you buy a vehicle, make it an electric car. So it wasn't just about creating a flashy ad and then driving people to a landing page. It was about connecting the environment and buying an electric vehicle with this topical nature, with this sense of frustration, and giving this as a positive outlet, that this is your daily active affirmation. Every time you or your family gets in this vehicle, that you're making a stance. And that was something that was really impactful in this campaign. After this, we also ran some digital display ads. And as you might note, a little bit cheeky, but very much on the environment angle, right? And it's very much a teacher educating an extraordinarily misguided student. And then we sent people to a rather sassy landing page. Credit to Zach and Suzanne for creating this page. My favorite line on here is, the federal government offers a tax credit of up to $7,500. For now. And people liked it. Not only did they click the like button, there's 1,100 likes on this particular ad alone, they actually engaged with us. They talked to us. They had conversations with us. People loved it. They shared it with their peers, with their friends, with their networks. And they covered it. But this is the one that I really enjoy. They wanted it. If you saw that original ad, there's a bumper sticker in that. People asked us where they can get one of those bumper stickers. They wanted to put that creative on their car that they just bought. So it was tremendous. And that's really fun and a little anecdotal so far. That's feel good. But what does it actually mean in terms of metrics? Did people engage? Were people actually interested in this beyond those moments? Well, in the 3 weeks we ran the campaign, there were 1,100 page views, which accounts for just shy of 20% of the page views for the entire SF Environment website for that window of time. Page duration, you might think, well, 11,000 people, or 11,000 clicks, right? Well, how many of them just bounced away, oops, clicked on the wrong ad? Well, they actually stuck around. This is almost twice the length of time that people spend on our average pages. And not only that, on that landing page, there are embedded links. So links to those rebates and links to those incentives so you can get educated. And this, to me, was probably one of the most surprising. That you'd expect that if folks were interested in this ad, they clicked on it, and they saw this kind of landing page, they would bookmark it for the time in which they're ready to learn a little bit more about the buying an electric vehicle, but they actually took the time right then and there to click on those links and to become more educated, which is incredible. So yes, we were original, topical, relevant, and digital, and incredibly modest. But what I really enjoyed about this was the teamwork, that this didn't just come out of, sitting around and staring out a window in an isolated room. This was an effort on behalf of the not just the outreach team, but also the EV team. It was a collaboration from start to finish. And huge props to Zach and to Suzanne for putting up with me, but also huge props to the outreach team for actually being able to bring this to life online and create a really fun and exciting campaign, but also a huge shout out to the upper management. This is a little risky, right? It's a little bit out there, and just wanted to say thank you for giving us the trust to run this sort of a campaign, and I hope the results speak for themselves.
Thank you for that wonderful, enthusiastic presentation. And commissioners, any comments, questions?
That was awesome. Thank you so much. Is it on? Am I on?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Commissioner
That was
Stevenson,
fantastic. Thank you so much.
No, it's just,
I have questions because I always have questions. That might have been my favorite presentation I've ever had here. So thank you. That was awesome. How long did it run?
3.5 weeks.
3.5 weeks. And is it going to run any more?
The budget is expended, so no.
Okay. Do we have any mechanism through which to understand if there was an actual sales lift in cars in San Francisco?
Unfortunately not, and that was one of the first questions that we asked in that why toddler moment is, how can we measure this? What are ways that we can actually translate this effort to direct vehicle sales? And there's just not a mechanism in place for us to directly correlate. We do have access to the information around the number of rebates that are actually taken out. But it's still, it's a bit of a leap to make that assumption that, an increase there is directly related to this campaign.
Right, and I'm sure that the life cycle of purchasing a vehicle is not such that, you might actually find that you have to buy a vehicle in 18 months, and it's not going to be in your 3.5 weeks of your campaign. So budget ran out. What happens now in terms of, I love this process, and I love the fact that did I see this on a billboard?
No,
I didn't at all. I only saw it online.
Digital, yeah.
Okay, because I definitely saw it when it was out. Is there any plan to sort of take what you've done here and apply it to other things that we're going to try and do here? I'm thinking about things like consumption in San Francisco.
That's a question for Donnie.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciated it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hoyos.
Yeah, so when I think of, so it was an excellent, engaged presentation, I concur. So in relation to our other EV work, so I understand this was more about purchase and
Exactly.
helping people understand the process and so on, but is there more thinking about the intersection between the other great work that the department has been doing on EVs and your promotional work, whether that be the parking we're thinking, or the kind of charging stations we're thinking about? I'm just thinking as we try to up people's learning curve writ large about EVs, not just how to get one, but the user-friendly nature of the city vis-a-vis electric vehicles, the steps we're taking, requiring charging in new buildings, et cetera. I'm just wondering, is there an intersection between the creative you do and the rest of our EV work, which might be more a question for you, but go for it.
That's really a question in terms of for Debbie, for Donnie, and also for Jesse to kind of sit down and determine what are some overlaps and how can we leverage this sort of enthusiasm to support other work that's going on.
And then are you, just because this is the first time I've had the benefit of meeting you, is your creative just focused on this particular issue, or are you kind of creative dude to go into other areas as well?
Creative dude to go into other areas.
That's good. That's good, because we were all very moved by the presentation, so we look forward to more of that.
Great, thank you.
To the